13-year-old's life, right? Sorry, the 14-year-old's life. So the 13-year-old now has her baby. He's a year old, she's 14, the baby's 1 year old, and it is ruining the now 14-year-old's life. Not okay to kill a baby. You know? You must be assuming that fetuses don't have the same right to life the baby has. That's just what's in question here, question begging. The second point there is that afterwards it says something like, she's entitled to abortion, therefore everyone is. She's entitled to abortion, therefore everyone is. And what I wanted you to say about that is just that even if hardship could, per impossibile, that is, it can't, but even if it could show that it's okay to have an abortion, it would only be showing it in cases where that hardship is present. And for lots of people, it's just not going to be as bad as it is for the 13-year-old. You can't say the 13-year-old can do it because of the hardship, so anybody can do it regardless of hardship. Right? That's piggybacking a right to abortion on somebody else's hardship. Hardship doesn't justify it in the first place, but even if it did, it would only cover people who are in the same kind of dire straits as a 13-year-old is.
And then there was one more in that section.
Okay, good. I don't know if I've talked about that yet or not either, but I will now. And if I didn't, I will repeat it on Tuesday. Some people want to say that abortion is morally... This is different from the first one, it's okay to do what you want with your own body. This is sometimes people say that the fetus, because it's connected to the woman, is a part of her body. And therefore, her right to do what she wants to her own body covers the fetus, right? You can have it removed just like you can, get a tattoo or have big holes punched in your ears, right, if you want. Or even cut off your little finger if you want. A lot of people think that that's your right. It might not be the smartest thing in the world to do, but it's your right. Okay? So is the fetus like a wart or a mole? And the quick thing to say here is that this argument begs the question by assuming that the fetus has no more of a right to life than a wart or a mole does. Maybe it's one of those parts of your body that has a right to life. Could there be such a thing? Well, I think there actually have been such things. And I think I talked about these guys. There were some people that P.T. Barnum exploited, named Chang and Eng. I don't know what their last names were. They had last names, I'm pretty sure, or a last name, and they were, that's where we get the phrase Siamese twins. Right now we say conjoined twins. That's a politically correct way to say it. They used to say Siamese twins because these two kids were from Thailand, which used to be called Siam, Chang and Eng, and he displayed them in his freak show, believe it or not. He called them Siamese twins. Well, suppose Chang says, here's Eng, physically connected to me, needs to use my body to survive, but it's my body. And so I get to kill him, remove him, even if that's going to cause his death, because he's part of my body. I think the answer would be, not in the morally relevant sense that it's okay to kill him. The mere fact that it's physically connected to her and dependent upon her does not show that it has no right to life. Otherwise, Eng could, remove Chang, or Chang could remove Eng, and that would not be morally permissible. It's not. In fact, I think if Chang had Eng removed, the thought was that Chang would have lived. But that if Eng had Chang removed, Eng would have died. They both would have died. So suppose Chang, knowing this, says, I want Eng out of here. I'm tired of having, it's embarrassing. Every time I try to have sex, he's watching. There are so many people who want to have sex with me. That wouldn't hold up in the court of moral appropriateness. So even though the fetus is connected to and physically dependent upon the mother or its hosts, that doesn't mean it has no right to life. There might be parts of your body, and so comparing it to a wart or a mole is begging the question by assuming it's the sort of part of your body that has no right to life. It's a part of your body in the sense that it has no right to life. It's just not been shown. Make sense? I think I might have done that one. Yeah, Eddie, your hand was up first.
Just a question about terminology, I guess.
Sure.
So, for the bad use of language when it says that's pro-life position,
yep.
Is the right one. What is it technically called when you say, I said pro-life implies the other side is pro-death, but what is it?
Then you get full credit for that already. But what it's called, I gave it a name. It's called a question-begging epithet. not a question-begging epitaph. Right? Epitaph is what's on the gravestone. Question-begging epitaph would be, realize that asshole Don Lowe. This was a mission. Is there another question-begging epithet in there that you need to comment on? You bet. Pro-choice. Because choices are a good thing. And of course, everybody's pro-choice, especially around here where we think choices are really good things. We value our choices. But nobody says I'm pro-choice when it comes to killing teenagers.
Oh, it's in parentheses. I was laughing.
Oh.
Sorry.
It's actually not a lie if it's a mistake, but I don't know if I use the word phrase. So that's question begging also, it seems to me. Pro-choice, pro-life, both of those terms are in some ways kind of ugly because they try to steal the argument, right? They try to, instead, in place of an argument, use a term that makes it look like the question has already been answered. That's unfair. Even though that's the way people talk day to day, you know. You know, it's gotten into our language, but it's because propagandists have used that. Have used the language that way. Jen, your hand was up, sorry.
Yeah, in C, could you talk about how God says no,
Yeah. The problem with that is it commits the fallacy, the genetic fallacy.
Wait, sorry, which?
Men have no business arguing about this. That's the genetic fallacy, because the source of the argument is not relevant to its quality. Okay?
Can you say that again?
Source is the genetic fallacy, which is the fallacy of origins. And what that means, your roommate has never heard of that, so you have to explain it. What it means is that it's trying to criticize the source of the argument instead of the argument itself. And the source of the argument is not relevant to the argument's quality. So I think I gave examples of this earlier. I didn't do it in this context, I'm pretty sure, but I will again on Tuesday. When I said, suppose we're arguing about whether Israel should give up the Golan Heights. And I say, well, have you ever seen the Golan Heights? They're really steep, and you can put mortars up there and shell down onto villages, and it's virtually impregnable. And so they really shouldn't because of terrible security risk. And you say, you're just saying that because you're a Jew. I'd say, well, whether I am or not is not relevant to whether or not that was a good argument. It might be a bad argument. Maybe it's a greater security risk to not give it back than to give it back. But that has nothing to do with whether I'm a Jew or not. You just change the subject to me. It's no different than saying, oh yeah, well, you're ugly. It's not a reasonable argument. I can say true, perhaps, but irrelevant. So Dennis, your hand is up next.
What you said about the first part of C where it says you don't approve abortions, you don't have to have one. And then
Good. Let's do that one first. Then you can ask the next one. I'll call you again. The problem with that is that it overlooks the moral question. Suppose I said to you, if you don't approve of slavery, don't own slaves. That wouldn't show that it's morally permissible for you to own slaves, right? I'd have just changed the subject. The point is the other person thinks it's wrong to have an abortion. Right? It's in place of an argument. You had another one?
yeah, also what should we say about galley abortions?
Oh good, that's another hardship argument, right? Because although it's true and horrible that women are hurt badly when abortion is made unavailable, as it's about to be in this country and lots of places, thanks to the U.S. Supreme Court, which has just completely undermined the right that they found in Roe v. Wade in the early 70s. And when that happens, women sometimes take extreme measures to secure an abortion. Either they'll take some kind of medication that they think will cause an abortion, or they'll go to some practitioner who works in unsanitary conditions, or they'll try to perform an abortion on themselves with coat hangers, which has happened to people, and that's why you see them being carried around at anti-abortion, at pro-abortion choice rallies, right? Terrible things happen to some small number of women when abortion is made unavailable. Okay? It's just true. That doesn't show that abortion is morally permissible, though, because if it's killing babies, you don't say that you're going to allow people to kill babies in order to prevent them from hurting themselves while trying to kill their babies. Okay? It's a terrible thing that happens to women, and if abortion is morally permissible, you shouldn't be in that position. And it's not like if you're trying to kill your baby, you deserve it or anything like that. That would be a sick thing to say. It's just that it doesn't make it okay to do it, but some people will try to do it and hurt themselves while trying.
So I just wanted to say the home views without making the abortion argument. So it doesn't make sense because it overlooks the whole concept of whether or not it's right together.
Which one are you talking about?
Like if you don't want an abortion, you don't have to get one.
Yeah, the problem is that it overlooks the moral issue. It's pretending to say that, that's just restating the pro-abortion choice position, really,
Yeah.
right? That people should be able to pick them or not. And think about somebody who said that about slavery. If you don't approve of slavery, don't own slaves. None of your business to tell me what to do. It's a kind of false toleration, right? We should live and let live, Everybody should be able to
That's the
decide.
cost of something else.
It overlooks the moral question, yeah. What else?
Can you go over women and leverage equality if they're not?
Yep, it's a hardship argument. I actually think it's true that there's an obstacle to success of certain sorts that women of childbearing years face that men don't face. Namely, they can get pregnant when they don't want to be pregnant, and it can get in the way of stuff that they want to do, like continuing education or running for office, right, or doing a job, all sorts of stuff. And so, in a world in which women don't have control over that aspect of their health, they probably can achieve full equality. But if abortion is morally impermissible because it's killing persons, that wouldn't be justified on the basis of a concern about equality. And you might have to be casualties. Sorry?
Can you say that again?
Yeah. If abortion is morally permissible, abortion is morally impermissible. It doesn't become okay because of concern about equality. Why? Because it wouldn't be okay to kill a lot of children for the sake of promoting women's equality. Right? In order to make sure that women are equal, we should let them kill their children. Well, I don't know if it's killing children or not. But if it is, then it's not okay even for the sake of equality. I care a real lot about equality, as you know. But I don't see why that would justify killing children. If it's not killing children, then you can do it without the equality argument. So it's just another hardship argument. I was going to say something before about the language stuff. One way in which people lose points, one way in which people lose points is they forget to say anything about it. And I bet there are people in this room who will forget, because every time I say that, I can't believe that anybody would forget after all those warnings, but somebody does. Often several do. But one way people lose points if they don't forget is they say this language is question begging and inappropriate, and then they use that very language later in the test. And they have to go and erase the credit I gave them. So they say, pro-choice, that's an awful term because it suggests that the other side is against choices. Nobody's against choices. And then later they say, the third statement is made by somebody who's pro-choice. What? Did you not understand what it was you just said? That would be a mistake.
So basically, stay consistent with the way you
Yeah. If you tell me that the terminology shouldn't be used, and then you use it, I start to suspect you didn't get the point. Yeah.
Can you go over the death penalty comparison again?
Yeah, there are two of them. Let's just do them one at a time. They always start with like